Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my beautiful, beautiful beings in the world. I hope you guys are feeling awesome today. If you are not feeling awesome, it's all good, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. See, life is about things not always being awesome. Okay? Things are not going to always be awesome. There's just no way. There's just no way. That's just life, dude. Alright? Think about it. Life is so crazy. Life is so crazy. Okay? What do you think is awesome? You know what I mean? What is your subjective truth? What is awesome to you? Well, I'll tell you what awesome means for me. For me, awesome means balance. Okay? Because what does it mean to feel awesome? Well, to feel awesome is to feel so good that you don't really feel the bad. Okay? Well, what is the bad? That's a good question. What is the good? Well, that's a question. A question you have to answer for yourself. Okay? These aren't questions that others can answer for us. We can take their opinion in. We could listen to them. We could conceptualize their statements and their views. But at the end of the day, our worldview is completely and utterly constructed within the confines of our subconscious mind. Okay? Now there's a difference between the processes that are taking place in our subconscious mind and the processes that are taking place in our conscious mind. Okay? When you are seeing the world through your conscious mind, you are seeing the world through a lens of, well, materialistic. You're seeing the world materialize before you. You're seeing the world for the matter that it is comprised of and the way in which that matter moves on a three-dimensional plane. Okay? That's what our conscious mind processes. Processes all of that. Our conscious mind tries to make sense of it all and tries to help us to make sense of it all. Our conscious mind tries to adapt and help us adapt. Our conscious mind is our ability to see the things around us and to essentially process them for what they are in the moment, at any given moment, at any given time. Okay? At any given time, you're going to experience situations in your life where your subconscious mind is going to wreak havoc on your conscious mind. It is going to be in a battle with your conscious mind for superiority over your day. Now here's the thing. We fluctuate. Just as everything does, just as the leaves falling from the trees, some still hanging on, some finding their way onto the pavement, onto the grass. Okay? Everything changes. It's always going to change and it's never going to be constant. So what can you do for yourself to balance it all out? Well, that's easy. Do what you can for yourself to balance it all out. That's all I'm going to say. Because think about it this way. The more constant variables you have in your life, the better you will be able to look inside of yourself and experiment with yourself to find yourself the most possible balance that you need for yourself in order for you to work to your best ability, okay? With the most performance possible. We are trying to reach a position of top peak performance. That is our essential goal every single day we live. We want our bodies and our minds to work efficiently in a symbiotic relationship where one relies off of the constant state of the other to adapt to the fluctuations that reality thrusts in our way. Okay? It's important to understand that. If we don't understand the fact that things change and that we have to adapt to them in order for things to be awesome, things won't be awesome. Alright? And we want things to be awesome. We want things to be as awesome as they can possibly be. That's what life's all about. Life is about things being things. Okay? That's it. It's only our perception of these things and how they're being things that really creates the framework in our mind. Okay? That framework that we have in our mind that is being created is essentially there to help shape us. Our conscious mind works in tandem with our subconscious mind in a very balanced way to help to regulate the symbiotic relationship with our system. So, the first thing that we need to do is we need to get plenty of sleep. It is incredibly important for us to get plenty of sleep. Okay? What does that mean? Well, for most people, getting plenty of sleep means getting about 7.5 to 10 hours. Tops. Okay? If you're sleeping any more than that, that's probably not very good. But life sometimes is going to be different, as I said. Okay? Anxiety is when things are out of balance. Okay? So to fight the anxiety in your mind, you have to keep things as balanced as possible. Because you're not going to be able to realize what you have to balance to get rid of the anxiety when everything else is out of balance. Okay? So sleep. Sleep is first. Why sleep first? Well, I'll explain that to you. Very easy. Your body is a machine. Your body is basically a mech. Okay? Think about it. It's your temple, your Mecca, your temple, your church. Okay? Your synagogue. You know? That is what your body is. Your body, okay, represents the connection between your mind and the world around you. A temple is the connection between your mind and the world around you, amplified. Okay? Amplified. I personally believe that heaven is just a state of empathy. The highest state of empathy that is humanly possible for one to achieve. Life is a constant quest of empathy. What is it to be more empathetic than to not exist on a three-dimensional plane? Think about it. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to feel these things. Okay? I gotta cut us somewhere there. Well, for part 2. Yes. All right. So, sleep. Sleep is number 1. Okay. Well, sleep is number 1. What is number 2? Well, number 2, I would say personally, would have to be chemicals and nutrients. Okay? If you want to be technical, you can say the physical consumption of matter that is comprised of chemicals that has a chemical reaction to your body, okay? Anything that you consume, essentially, all of your imports, all of the things that you are taking in, all of the things that you become, okay? So, what does that mean? Well, what do we take in every single day? Well, we got to take in food. Yep. We got to take in water. Yep. Some of us, most of us, need to take in medication. Yep. We need to take in sunlight. We need to take in oxygen, fresh, pure oxygen. Okay? And we need to take in positive affirmations, positive words. Okay? And we need to take in negative words and see the grains of truth behind them, turn that into a positive. Because that's life, okay? We can't just have a battery go from positive to positive. You simply have to have negative for the body to work, for the mind to work, for everything to work. You need to have negative. Pay no mind. Negative is not an inherently bad thing if it is helpful to processing at peak efficiency. Okay? Because what did I say processing at peak efficiency was before? Things being in balance. There's going to be negativity in life. You need to get over the idea that there's not going to be any negativity in life. That's the problem. Negativity is supposed to be in life. That is how we grow. And we all have our own growth timelines. Everyone is going to be different. Not one person is going to be exactly the same in their abilities to process reality and to work as efficiently as possible and to produce more than they consume. Okay? Now everyone's going to be able to live out that reality as quickly as others. Some people won't get to live out that reality until they're dead. Okay? What does it mean to be dead? Okay? Well, to be dead is to not be existing on this three-dimensional plane as matter comprised into a particular algorithmic subset that is the structural coding, that is DNA, that is able to manipulate matter, which is the coding behind life, essentially, which is essentially shaping our very reality. Okay? If your body doesn't perceive a virus to be a threat, okay, it's going to be able to tell it Hey, not today. If you take a vaccine, what happens is your mind is told, essentially, here's this thing, it's a really bad thing, I think you should know about it, it could possibly hurt you, so please, at all costs, avoid it. That's obviously going to affect different people differently, and there's obviously going to be some people it affects in a negative way. I think the people who think too hard into that, though, don't realize just how much more positive it could be to actually have the empathy to realize that by not taking that, you may be affecting the lives of others around you, subsequently affecting the life of the planet. It's all in balance, baby. It's all in balance. Just understand that. It's all in balance. You could go... Alright, I think I'm good. 3 laps? I think that was 4 laps? I don't know. That was it. And was enough talking. Now time for some meditation. What do you need after you sleep? Exercise. What do you need after you exercise? Meditation. Okay, why is that? Oh, sleep. Sleep. Exercise. Meditation. Consumption. Sleep. Exercise. Meditation. Consumption. Production. Creation. Patience. That's the one. Think about it. Think about it. What is the most important thing? Let's break this down to a fundamental level. What is the most important thing? Working at peak performance. Okay? Working at peak performance is the most important thing. Okay? Working at peak performance is the most important thing. So, we need, in order, to do the following. Okay. What? You want hugs? Okay. Come here. Come here, baby. Come here. I'm sorry. Hey, squish it. Hey, squish it. Hey, squish it. Hey, squish that cat. Squish that cat. It's okay, baby. Purring is just a kitty's way of calming itself down from its anxiety. A kitty's anxiety happens when a kitty perceives a threat and its heart starts beating fast and it gets little kitty adrenaline. And its brain doesn't work properly in that moment because all the blood's going to the body and there's a detachment between the brain and the body at that point. There's an imbalance. Anxiety is just the acknowledgement of that imbalance, which makes your brain work harder to process the imbalance to fix it because the threat doesn't make sense because the threat doesn't materialize. You materialize the threat in your mind and allow it to consume you. Well, if there's others in the world that are able to give you scratches and give you pets, to help to ease you of that anxiety, well, the world could be a better place. Think about it. If we all just treated each other the way that we think we should treat animals, the world would be a better place. I don't think people realize just how ridiculous it is to have a pet that you scratch behind their head, but also to support factory farming. The support of you know what it is? The air in here is so fucking dry compared to the outside air. So I need to put on the fucking humidifier. That's why you need not be inside all fucking day. Remember that. Alright, so sleep. What the hell is sleep? Fear is just the feeling that you have too much imbalance in your life for it to feel worth it. Well, what does it mean for something to feel worth it? Well, something feels worth it when you do it and it makes things change for the better. Right? So, how are we to change things for the better? Put out more positive. That's it. Just put out more positivity. Put it out there if you got it. And if you don't have it, hopefully it'll come to you. Once it comes to you, you got to put it back out there. Times 3. Pay it forward. Times 3. Think about it. If you have 3 people, right? Okay. You have 3 people. 3 people times 3 people. So if 3 people tell 3 people, 9 people will feel positive. If those 9 people tell 3 people, 27 people will feel positive. If those 27 people tell 3 people, 81, 243, 729, 2,187, 6,561, 19,683, 59,049, 177,147, 531,441, 1,594,323, 4,782,969, 14,348,907. 43,046,721. 1,291,000,000. Wait, 1,200 no. 12. I don't know. Just pay it forward. This calculator is too small. What does that mean? Well, the calculator doesn't have enough of a screen to handle the computation. What's a screen? A screen, well, matter being transmitted on a three-dimensional plane. We are just matter being transmitted on a three-dimensional plane. Some of us can only compute a certain amount of numbers and display them, a certain amount of numbers. We all have different amounts of download speed and upload speed. Because we all have different quality processors, different quality hard drives. What are our fans? Our breathing. We must work to increase our productivity and our peak performance through breathing deeply periodically throughout the day, through sleeping 7.5 hours a night, or in intervals of 1.5 hours, which is about one movie. We also need to eat healthy, consume of less meat, or no meat at all, and give out love and positivity. Exercise. There's just so many things to do. I think that anxiety is fine. Having too much anxiety is not. I think once we start to realize that everybody has disorder, the world will start to be a better place. Because then we won't subjugate others to being so different, to being so evil. That's why I said at the beginning of this video, good and evil, what are they? Well, everyone has a different idea of what that is. Evil, in essence, is the materialization of physical matter on a three-dimensional plane, manipulating other three-dimensional matter in a way that doesn't allow for it to work at its peak performance, that doesn't allow for it to compute in a way that is at peak efficiency, where it is able to have a balanced symbiotic relationship between body and mind in order to create more positive energy in the world, okay? Essentially, it is someone who consumes and doesn't create, okay? Create, don't consume. Create, don't consume. But consume what others create, but make sure you do them in balance. It's the most important thing. This is why there's a lot of channels online that ask for money. Okay? Pay attention to who asks for the money the most. Whoever asks for the money the most is more than likely to be a consumer. What does that mean? They like to consume. Well, just look at how much they consume versus how much value they add to reality, how much value they add to this three-dimensional plane. Think about it. Someone like Alex Jones, for instance. How much value does Alex Jones bring to the world versus how much value he consumes? Think about this. Think about if you were to take one man down on his luck, who doesn't have anybody, who doesn't have any love, who doesn't have much family, who experiences a lot of pain, who has a lot of issues, who listens to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones makes him feel not so alone. And Alex Jones helps to legitimize the fears that he has in his mind. Okay? If Alex Jones were to come on camera for an hour, and 30 minutes of that was him just telling you to buy his products, you'd buy his products, even if you didn't have the money, because you would feel like you were supporting him. Okay? You would feel like you're supporting someone who is creating positive content for you, because it feels positive to you in the moment, because it's helping you avoid the negativity. Unfortunately, we need to acknowledge the negativity exists first, rather than avoid it, and then we must create more than we consume. But we must make sure that what we create is positive, because if we are creating something that is negative, we are just creating something that will consume for us. Put out more positive energy than you take in. It's that simple. Take some positive energy from the world, from others. Put 3 times as much out. Okay? That's how you can live your best life. That's how you can live your best life. I'm just telling you how it is, buddy. You've got Steven Crowder, who he has a gun sitting right on his desk. Guns are so expensive, dude. Holy shit. Like, it's one thing to ask you to buy some supplements, right? But it's another to ask you to buy, like, guns. You know what I mean? Because, well, a gun, essentially, although useful in some ways, it doesn't attain its peak full usefulness until it needs to be used. Moments may arise where it needs to be used, but moments could also arise where it wants to be used. If someone doesn't have a balanced mind, they may not make the right decision. They may harm someone, they may harm themselves for no reason other than the fact that they have a gun, and therefore there is now part of their existence that is consumed with that new reality where every day you are living in the fear that you are going to die, as opposed to just living life and giving as much as you can. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to defend yourself. That's all I'm saying. But there's a difference between owning a gun and shutting the fuck up about it, and owning a gun and talking about it all day, every day, and telling everyone about it, and marketing it, and trying to get people to buy them. Guns are so fucking expensive. Of course they're going to market them to you. If you think they haven't been marketing guns in movies for the longest time, then you are sadly mistaken. The legality of weapons in this country doesn't have nearly as much to do with the ability for militias to defend themselves against a corrupt government. It has way more to do with capitalism than you think. Just look into all of the legislation that was put forth by Republicans who support all of these gun laws and put all sorts of laws in place and legislation which limits the Democrats' ability to do anything about gun control. Okay? You may be afraid of gun control. You may be afraid, but don't be afraid. Nobody is coming to kill you. You're able to have your pistol. Okay? Having your pistol will give you 50% better chance of surviving in a situation where someone else might have not. Okay? And that's it. That's it. Well, what does capitalism do? Well, now it tells you, what if somebody comes onto your property? Okay, well, now they're on my property. Okay, well, what is yours? How is it your property? That's a good question. Well, they're getting too close to me. Ah, there you go. That makes sense. Okay. So they are interfering with your life in some way that makes you feel afraid, makes you feel threatened because you assume they may inflict harm upon you. Okay. Okay. Interesting. What if we were to assume that they were not going to inflict harm on you? What if we were to assume that they were trying to do whatever rationally seemed to be what they were trying to do? I think that owning too many guns has more to do with not trusting yourself than it has to do with not trusting others. I respect a man who has a pistol and a shotgun. I don't respect a man who has multiple AR-15s, an AK-47, a bunch of machetes, a bunch of nunchucks, who knows what. I don't respect a man who collects weapons. Okay? I respect a man who collects tools, because tools are used to create. Weapons are used to destroy. That's the difference. Anyways, what else? Abortion. Okay. Well, abortion, kids should be able to make their own decisions about their body, so why shouldn't adults be able to? Okay. I'd ask any Republican, if a child got raped and got pregnant, would they be able to abort? And you would say absolutely. Why would you say absolutely? You'd say absolutely because they're a child. Okay. What's the difference between them and an adult? Well, they're pure. You know, they're young. They're untouched. Okay. What does that mean? They're not as developed. They're not as, okay. Developed how? Physically or emotionally? Physically? Okay. What about emotionally? Yeah, that can make sense. Yeah, because could that hurt them? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So you're against a rape victim having an abortion, but you're okay with a kid rape victim having an abortion. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let me ask you this now. What if that kid had sex with another kid? And it wasn't rape, it was consensual. Okay, well, you could argue that a child can't consent to sex. That's fine. But when two parties that are of equal ability mentally go into an agreement with each other, it's called consent. Okay? You guys know this when it comes to business, but you don't know it when it comes to people. So, when there's that consent between those kids, let's say they're 12. Do you think the 12-year-old girl should be able to have an abortion? And if so, why? Or why not? Well, I guarantee if you ask that to a Republican without telling them everything else before it, they would say absolutely. Absolutely. Why? Because the child is a child. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that they may not be working to peak performance. Their body and mind may not be as developed. What does that mean? Well, not be as prepared to face the realities of that decision. Okay, the decision to what? Have a child. Okay, how does that affect their lives? Well, it consumes them. How does it consume them? Because they need to give more. Okay, and should children be doing more giving or more receiving as far as information goes? Probably receiving, because kids, why? Are not too smart. Exactly. Okay. So a child should be able to have an abortion. Yep. Okay, cool. So why not an adult? What if their body or their mind isn't ready, isn't as developed, just like that child? Because we all know some people develop quicker than others. This is scientifically proven. And you could say that a 25-year-old, their brain may be fully developed, but that doesn't mean that their mind is balanced. That doesn't mean that they're not depressed or anxious, have mental health issues. That doesn't mean that their life would be so detrimentally thrown off course that having a child would be ultimately more of a negative to reality and to the world than it would be a positive. Because nothing is worse than bringing something to life for the sole purpose of its destruction. In the same way that we use factory farming to feed ourselves, when we feed animals 5 times the amount of food that we need to feed the world with. Okay? They're taking all of the food in the world, 5 times the amount of food, and they are feeding it to animals that they are bringing into reality by raping these animals with machines. They are raping the male animals with machines to take their semen. They are raping the women animals with their machines to put semen in them and to take milk out of them. Who's living the worst life? In a man's eyes, you would say that the woman cow is living the worst life. Well, then I may ask, why is it that men call women cows? Is it because they're fat, or is it because they're okay with only taking from them and not giving? Why don't we want happy cows and bulls living in a field with each other? Why don't we want that? Why don't we want wide open fields of crops and plants that not only would serve to feed the world times 5, but would also serve to feed the people the clean oxygen they need times 5? Could you imagine if there was 5 times as much oxygen in this world? How much of a positive impact that could have on the human body? If that could have such a positive impact on the human body, I'm sure it could have an impact on the human mind. And the human mind is what drives innovation. And innovation is what gets us off of this fucking earth and what helps us solve all of the problems that we face, which is ultimately why we have fear. Okay? And if we're able to solve all those problems, we won't live in as much fear. Men are always doing everything they can to avoid fear at any cost. Women don't have that choice. Being an innie and not an outie doesn't allow for them to have that choice. Think about this. You may not be gay, but if it were the natural state of things for humans to be gay, if that were natural, and everyone was gay, every single person, would you ever feel concerned with a male larger than you raping you? Of course. Times 20. Over and over and over again, I would say. Yes. And why? Because he's bigger than you. Okay. Well, what does that mean? He has more physical strength. Okay. How do you outsmart him? Maybe with mental strength? All this, physical arts that you guys like to talk about, martial arts and stuff. Okay. So martial arts. Yes. Okay. So that is a defense mechanism where you will use your mind to figure out what to do, and you'll use your body to do it. And even if you don't have as much strength as someone, You know how to use the strength that you have, and you know how to use it to its best ability, to its peak performance, right? Okay. So, why can't that be said about the mind as well? Because there's something that I believe that has to do with the brain as well. I believe the brain can be raped with information. Because rape is when someone consumes of someone else to make themselves feel better without really creating any positivity, possibly creating negativity, possibly creating imbalance, possibly bringing harm to the woman or to the person. Going back to that idea of everyone being gay and there being a large male, larger than you, raping you. What if you were able to get pregnant? What if you were able to be pregnant for 9 months? Would you want to have the ability to abort it lawfully without being arrested for doing so? And if so, you may not be a Republican. You may not be a conservative. You may be a fucking human. And you may have empathy. So we need to look into that more. We need to explore your mind and see all of that empathy for what it is and let it out. So incredibly important. I believe in each and every one of you. Okay? Every single being out there. I believe in you wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. The reason why swearing is not really beneficial is because swearing is a way of copping out of the complex emotions that you are dealing with for fear of the provocation of their conceptualization being brought to reality in someone else's mind. As they say, kill them with kindness. Just be kind to one another. Being sarcastic is not being kind. Being sarcastic is being negative. It's okay to use humor in context. It's okay to be sarcastic in context. Sarcasm out of context can be perceived as a threat. In the same way that trying to solve someone's problems out of context could be perceived as a threat, which is a lot of the time what a lot of men try to do. Trying to solve women's problems. Listen, dude, they're able to solve them on their own. Their balance is just different, right? Everyone's balance is different. And everyone has to balance in many different ways. And those ways don't just have to do with what is in between our legs, okay? Has a lot more to do with testosterone and estrogen, has a lot more to do with serotonin and dopamine, has a lot more to do with our chemical makeups being balanced. So, if you want to live at peak performance to where you would not have to worry anymore or fear, would you do it? And if so, why or why not? Tell me in the comments section below. I want to know. I want to talk to you guys. I want to get to know you. So, please, 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 join my community. Make a comment in the comment section below. Or, alternatively, you can follow me on everything else. And I will put that in the description below. I don't know what I'm going to do with this video, but I think there's a lot of content in this video that needs to get out there. And there's possibly a lot of content on my computer that also needs to get out there. anything that I have made that is positive, that is something I've created, as opposed to viewing something that I'm consuming. Like, playing video games for a stream is one thing, but playing video games in silence during a stream is another. You are still creating something, but you could be creating more. But you could also be hurting more. So if you don't have anything nice to say during your streams, if you don't have anything that you think would help people, or would ease their pain, or would make them laugh, or would make them feel good, then don't say it. Same for these political people out there. The only reason that they sensationalize things is to put you in a state of fear. They want you to be in a state of fear so they can sell you their products, because they ease that fear for you that they create. It's called manipulation. Something that a lot of men do to a lot of women. They create fear in a woman's life so they can manipulate them. Because someone who is out of balance is easier to push towards one way or the other than someone who is in balance. So, what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that life is a lot more complicated than we think. Life has more to do with keeping things in balance than it does with anything else. Life has so much more to do with creating than it does consuming. Draw a picture. Paint a picture. Sing. Make art. Make love. Don't make war. Well, what is war? And what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Love. What is it good for? Absolutely everything. I think Ron Paul was right when he said we need to have a love-evolution. I think a lot of people who supported Ron Paul maybe supported Bernie, and the Democrats choosing Hillary Clinton put them in a place where they felt alone. And I think that's why a lot of Bernie supporters really did go to Trump. I don't think that Tim Pool's wrong about that. But I also think that the majority of Trump supporters are just people who literally didn't have internet, who now have internet. We're starting to notice a trend online of people in other countries who are just starting to get internet, making humor and jokes and talking about the things they want to. The same thing happened in America, buddy. The internet started in California and in New York and all over, all the cities, right? The bandwidth increased everywhere first, where tiny little towns in the middle of nowhere weren't able to share their opinions. But now, everyone's able to share their opinions. So we need to balance it out in a positive way. And I don't think that that's going to come from less regulation of the internet. I think it's going to come from more. I think the fear of regulation is the fear of conformity, the fear of being a collective. The funny thing about that, though, is when you go into these communities of capitalistic manipulation with these commentators, you're doing the same thing. You're becoming a part of a fascist organization. An organization that aims only to capitalize off the fears of people, that doesn't aim to attempt to come to any sort of truth. Don't support Tim Pool. Don't support Steven Crowder. Don't support Alex Jones. Don't support Dave Rubin. Don't support any of these conservative Republican commentators. Don't. In the same sense there are also greedy left-wing commentators as well. Don't support them either. Only support the people that speak true and hold true to their convictions. People who don't flip and flop all over the place. People who change and develop, but always make it very clear what they believe in and tell you their intentions. That is telling you the consent. That is getting consent, because you are going into an agreement. You are going into a contract when you share information with people. You are sharing information with people with the knowledge that they prefer. They prefer to be consuming something that is positive and helps balance them. So, if you are consuming more than you're producing, and you are producing content that is negative, which in turn is consuming others, if you are in it more for the money and the fame than you are for helping people, if you are a sensationalist and are able to manipulate people through the use of fear tactics, sensationalized titles and videos, and doomer rhetoric, well, you should not be supported. And we shouldn't support these people anymore. Don't give these people your money. If COVID has told you anything, is that your money is your money. Your money is not your value. Your value is who you are. Your money is just money. It's just paper. They'll print as much of it as they need to. And who cares at the end of the day? As long as many people can live a life as awesome as humanly possible, I'll be happy with any amount of money I have. Okay? I don't care for money. I don't want your money. What I want is to know that when I put a message out there, it is helping someone. It is helping to make someone feel good. It is helping to make someone get through their day. It is helping someone to feel understood or to understand. It is helping someone to live in balance. It is helping the world to be balanced. It is helping the world to be a quote-unquote better place. Shift your ideologies, shift your ideological views, and align them in a way that allows for you and others to achieve peak performance and peak happiness. Happiness is just having peak balance. Happiness is just the lack of sadness. It's just the lack of pain being inflicted externally through external forces, some of which seek to destroy or consume, which is also the same as destroying. It doesn't mean these people can't figure it out. It's very simple. They have to create more than they consume. And you can also consume the minds of people. It's very important to understand that. And I would love to debate Tim Pool. I would love to go on his show. I would love to debate Joe Rogan. I would love to go on his show. I would love to debate Vosh. I would love to debate Dylan Burns. I would love to debate Destiny. I would love to debate anyone who finds themselves in the middle. Okay? Am I open to debating with people far right or far left? Yes. But mostly, I would love to debate the people who have went through the exact same transformation that I have and help to guide them in the right direction. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you beings have a beautiful, beautiful existence.